Okay, so my first break, I had a little bit of a head start here. So when I was working at the website agency, we would have clients call up and they would want to, or potential clients would call up and they'd say, hey, I want to build a website. I've got 20 grand, 30 grand, pretty much anything under 100 grand. And that agency I was at didn't do anything pretty much under 100 grand. So we'd either get those clients and redirect them somewhere, or we'd just say, no, we can't help you. So because I had been building websites for clients before working there, I went and asked the CEO there. I said, hey, what's the chances of me actually taking some of these clients on? And he was like, you know what, you can, but you have to do it outside your work time, can't interrupt any of your work hours, and go for it. So I'd been doing that for a little bit, for a couple of clients, maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4 clients over the last year before I'd left, just dabbling away there. And one of them was a beer client called Purvis Beer, and they had an amazing array of like products, except their website was just crap. So I was looking at that going, why don't they just get a new website? And the guy that owned the actual beer shop didn't see the value in online because it was only making $30,000 a year online. So he didn't see it, but I saw it, and I'm really glad that I was really persistent with this client, because it ended up being a really good story, which I'm going to tell you now. And it was actually my first break into working for myself and helping me really build my business. So the idea was I just wanted to get in contact with this client. I'd asked, it was a current client of that website agency, and I'd asked the CEO if I could work with them, and he said, yep, that's totally fine. They're really good guys. They just haven't got much money to spend online, so that's why we can't help them, which makes sense. So on one of my days off, I think I had Fridays off sometimes, I drove out to one of their locations and I went in there and I said, hey, where's Craig? And the guy behind the counter said, Craig's not here, he's at our Richmond store. So I jumped in my car and I drove to Richmond, and Craig was working, and I said, hey, I work for this company, but I'm working for myself on the side. I'd like to be able to build your website. And he's like, nah. He's like, I don't see any value in it. It's plodding along, but we're not going to spend any more money. So at the time, I lived in the same suburb in Richmond where that bottle shop was. So I just went there once a week for like the next couple of weeks. Dropped in there. I'm like, Craig, you ready? Let's do this. And he's like, nah. I'm thinking about the 4th or 5th time. He was so annoyed that I kept asking him about it. He just said, all right, send me a proposal. So like, if you don't like doing sales, I think one strategy around getting around being that naggy salesperson is if you can actually have a solution in your mind. And for me, it was like, I knew if he got a new website, his business was going to turn around. Like, I just knew it. I looked at the numbers. I could see the traffic. I could see his products. I could see the pricing. And I just felt like a fairy godmother saying, I'm going to build you a new website. It's going to make you a lot of money. Let's do it. But sometimes the customer can't see that. So being persistent can really give them confidence that you know what you're talking about. And you're not that naggy salesperson. You're just really persistent. So it's a hard pill to swallow for some people. But in this case, I knew I could really help him. So I did a proposal. And it was way too cheap. I think it was about $8,000 for a full brand new e-commerce store. And I was like, and he didn't know what he was going to get. He didn't know if he was going to get some guy that was just going to do 10 hours and it wasn't going to work. But what he didn't know was that I was going to work for myself, and he was my actual first client I had my time to fully dedicate to him. So what this beer company actually got was someone who was super hungry, wanted to prove myself in the world, and I gave it everything. I absolutely gave it. I went there like every second day, making sure he's taking photos of the beers, making sure he's comfortable with the e-commerce platform, building it, tweaking it, looking at weight. Like I essentially made the business my business. So if it was I treated it as if I owned the bottle shop, and that's been a really good strategy for me to take on clients. So we delivered the site. Over-delivered the site, and Craig was super happy. We essentially what they were making in a year, we made in the first month online, that was like, I was probably super lucky, but that doesn't happen to to many shops, but that was a really good case of being really lucky, really good timing, over-delivered the product. And then based off that success, I could go back to him and say, well, what else can we do? And he was actually, I think he actually came to me and he's like, Tim, what else can you do? So we started looking at their socials, started looking at their email campaigns, started looking at all these different areas where they could start making more money. And what that did for me, that was a big break for me because I was able to get a retainer with Craig. And it was a really small retainer at the time, but it grew. I ended up staying there for about 5 years, I think, in the end. And ended up building 3 or 4 more websites for him. And we had a couple of I think we had 3 retainers at one point. And that was like a really good base for me to be able to have an income each week and then go out and work on other clients as well. And just check in and grow them over the years. So that was a really good relationship, but that was my big break. And if I hadn't been persistent, if I just gave up on that client when he said no, I would have missed that massive opportunity. I would have missed that massive opportunity, but they would have missed that massive growth they had. And I'm really proud of that project. Really proud of the people who worked there. And that next break for you could be just around the corner. I look forward to showing my next couple of breaks as well, and hopefully that was insightful.